It possesses three great new simple fundamentals. First, an age-old yet modern new principle and practice attaining a new result. Second, an acknowledgement, understanding, and knowledge of an internal, innate intelligence between brain and body, which unbalances all normal routines between innate and function, brain and body, creating dis-ease between them when we acknowledge, understand the interference between innate and its body. And third, an acknowledgement, understanding of, and knowing how, what, where, when, and why of correcting that interference and permitting a restoration that balances all normal routines between innate and function, brain and body, recreating ease between innate and function, brain and body. Now, none of this is new. It is as old as the creation of the vertebrata. It has always existed in production of vertebral subluxations in accidents and in reductions of those vertebral subluxations by accidents. All of this is new to educated man. Its understanding was born in 1895. It has since existed in reductions of vertebral subluxations by intention. Everywhere, all races, each person seeks that something above and beyond himself, greater than himself, to explain the why of everything that has been, is, and will be. He seeks to explain the solar systems and their orbits, the greatness of infinite time and space, the origin and reproductions of species of growing living things, how they come and go, of the seasons, and what regulates them, why species and families do not interbreed, and if they do, producing hybrids that cannot reproduce. He educationally establishes and attempts to answer beyond his answer in a universal intelligence that guides, directs, and controls all things. This it is called by various names, such as Jehovah, God, universal intelligence. He conceives of it in the image of himself, except larger, longer, broader, better. It is everywhere present. Nobody has seen it Nobody ever will. It is omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent. It is the infinite. He is the finite. The finite tries to understand the infinite. He conceives that the infinite has a place, a form, shape, refers to it as he, and sings hymns to praise him. Knowing there is that something beyond himself, he reaches out into space to grasp it, understand it, know it. He builds concepts, amasses ideas, builds temples and cathedrals to emulate and exalt it. There is much he wants to know and asks to receive. He feels his smallness, his shortcomings by comparison, and asks for more of it to come to his education. Conceive, if you educationally can, the chaos that would exist in this universe without this guidance, this directing organization, this intellectual control over all things. You should be educationally able to realize how lost any person is who refuses to think, see, and know there is a universal guidance and influence of all things in all things. Man does acknowledge at times and places something greater than himself outside of himself. But what about himself, inside of himself? Here, all rules, understandings, and acknowledgments reverse themselves. According to education, he is born of an accident. Something happened, like Topsy. Just came, just grew. That the population ratio between males and females is just another one of those things. That man needs regulation and controls by man, for man, outside of man. Sickness is an evil, a sin, caused by external devil germs, effluvia, or other God-made external environmental conditions. That which changes him from normal to abnormal is a spontaneous combustion without rhyme or reason, which has baffled all men for all time. He calls it sympathy, reflex action. Man educationally and medically does not acknowledge anything inside greater than himself, inside himself. He thinks what he thinks, as he thinks it, educationally, is greater than any other concept. What he thinks, as he educationally thinks it, internally, is the alpha and omega, the ne plus ultra of all things pertaining to man. His outside concepts now become a conflict with his inside concepts. They contradict each other. He cannot and does not conceive that within himself is something beyond his limited education. He denies there could be, or is, an internal directing, controlling, governing intelligence beyond his education. Can you conceive the chaos that does exist in man's understanding of man without this guidance, this direction, this internal control over all things in man? If you can, then you know the principles and practices of all medicine in toto, e pluribus omnibus. Suppose man denied any controlling factor over our and other worlds. Would it make any difference? Would the controlling factor merely change because educated man denied it? Would the world's affairs go on the same as though he had never been in it or questioned it? Suppose man denied any unlimited controlling intellectual factor over, above, or inside of him, other than his meager education. Would it make any difference? Would the controlling factor inside of him change merely because educated man denied it? Would man go on internally functioning, producing and reproducing the race just the same? Suppose this generation of people come, live a while, have a great deal to say about how it ought to be run, and then die. Would man come? Would succeeding generations come and keep on coming just the same? Would his functions in the new generation keep on keeping on, regardless of him or his educated opinions? Or would his having come, having spouted out his egotistic educated theories, his useless educated experiments of how to change it all, change anything in the next generation? Would the directing superior internal innate within man change because educated man changed his theories and experiments with every turn of the day? It is obvious that medicine is a failure in getting sick people well. We are surrounded, swamped with evidences to that fact. It is obvious sick people turn from acute to chronic cases because of the failure of medicine to get them well. It is obvious sick people want to and need to get well. Innate, peculiarly, avoids and evades the vacuum. Chiropractic was born because of a necessity that sick people need get well in spite of medicine. If medicine, medical principles and practices got sick people well, there will be no necessity for chiropractic to do what they fail to do. Endless educated complexities and sterile theories and useless experiments and practices of medicine are in the doldrums. Confusion. They are today because they deny there is such a factor as innate intelligence. They call any study of such a cult and laugh at its unscientific study. They think that God made a great mistake when he produced germs. Therefore, man in his wisdom should kill all of them off. They question everything inside of man as though God made frightful blunders. Notwithstanding, he educationally thinks God put man on the earth to correct the mistakes of God. They educationally think they can and do supersede the mistakes God made and question innate intelligence inside man when it continues to live and thrive in spite of educated man rather than because of his educations. They think they can substitute their infinitesimal external education, or what they think in lieu of innate intelligence residing within man. When will man know there is a universal intelligence over and above man? When it is preached into him constantly. When will man know there is an innate intelligence in man that controls his existence before birth, during life, and who knows, perhaps after death? When will man learn that he can't talk to God, or suggest, infer, or tell God how to run man when he dismally and constantly fails? When will man learn that God talks to man from above down, from inside out, not in words, but in deeds? When will man learn that he can't be an infidel, agnostic, or atheist when it comes to regulating man's internal functions, normal or abnormal, well or sick? When will man grasp the great fundamental that everything that comes from above down, inside out, is good, normal, right, normal, healthy, natural, uninhibited, that nothing he can educationally think, say, or do can reverse that orderly procedure? When will chiropractors realize that you can't crossbreed an understanding or admission of a God of the universe on Sunday with a man-made artificiality, stimulation or inhibition from the outside in, from below upwards, the other 6 days of the week? When will chiropractors know and grow from within out to where they will know they can't double-cross innate within and expect to get sick people well. A great divide occurred about 500 years BC, as near as history records. Thales was the Greek philosopher who observed two factors in living man, which changed all thinking from that day to this. He looked at living man and saw the abstract and concrete, mind and matter, inanimate and animate bodies, dead and alive. He conceived a necessity that they be separated, one from the other. In the hypothetical abstract, they are separate. In being separated. Thales, for purposes of study, of principles and practices, separated one from the other, divided the indivisible. From that day to this, the invisible has been divisible, from above down, inside out. Two schools of thought were established from that day to this. The physical, material, corporeal, was given to students of physical properties, out of which has come the term physic and materia medica. The spirit, soul, metaphysical, mind, was given to students of spiritual interpretations, out of which has come the psychiatrist, metaphysicians, hypnotists, Christian scientists, and so forth. Two types of schools were established, physical and spiritual, and two schools of teaching began to meet those concepts. And we have had an indivisible, divided, living, sick man mentally and physically ever since. Each half says it is the whole. Mind is all and everything. Body is all and everything. One says you can have light with electricity alone, no need of a globe. The other says you can have light with a globe alone, no need of electricity. One says if you educationally think right, you'll be right. The other says if you educationally think wrong, you'll go wrong. If you are educationally careful, what comes in from the outside, both mental or physical, you'll be mentally or physically healthy. If you prevent medical or physical external environment from affecting your inside, you will internally be mentally and physically normal. One is all mental and no body. The other is all body and no mind. What is mind? Never mattered. What is matter? Never mind. Both are right as far as they go. Both are wrong because they are only half right. They ignore the other half. Each is half wrong by itself alone. Both are right when they are together. Mental and physical, spiritual and corporeal cannot be separated in living man. They are together, always have been together, never were separated, cannot now be separated in living man. Both these schools of thought ignored the unity of both together. The spiritualist fails because he does not know why or how to unite the two. The physician fails to get sick people well because he does not know how to make possible the unity of the two together. Without universal intelligence, there will be no moving, functioning, living world. Without innate intelligence, there would be no moving, functioning, living man. Matter? Yes. Intelligence? Yes. Both can be in the hypothetical abstract. We have no way of knowing. There is universal or innate intelligences, except as they speak, and universal or innate function through living things, through which they express themselves. The sooner educated man realizes all this and studies living man as a unity of mind and matter, spirit and body, innate and function, the quicker he can and will better serve man in getting him well when sick, making him normal when abnormal, making the insane sane, making the criminal a natural, internal, law-abiding citizen. The big job of the chiropractor is to preach this new old new gospel to a topsy-turvy, unreasonable, educated world. And before you go getting any misconceptions as to what we are saying, let us clarify one simple point. We do not decry or belittle any and all education per se when it is practical and works. We do emphatically decry any and all so-called medical education, scientific or otherwise, when it is impractical and can't, don't, and won't work. We decry and belittle all education premised on a disunity of mind and matter. And this applies to everything medical in all its principles and practices, regardless of whether it be the mental or physical fields. That's all.